What's up, everyone? Got another game for you between Alt, who's also Seer, or Seer Comp, and Stir Power DX, who you guys know on this channel by now, have a lot of his games featured. And Seer is running full wilds. That's the ritual spell with the little white ray of light, or whatever you want to call it. And then that icon is the werewolf. And then DX is running the Seasons book. Don't know if it's full seasons or not yet. We'll see as we get the game started. But that's the 4 seasons spell with the little leaves, and then the dryad, the white minion there at the bottom. So, pretty interesting game, featuring one of the newest books, Full Wilds, and then another newer book, but not quite as new, the Seasons book. So let's get it started. So DX gets first turn here. And openers for Seasons, I mean, you're going to be looking at like maybe Monarchs, maybe you summon an Acorn, or throw an Acorn. If he has Swarm, he could put a Swarm, summon a Swarm out. He decides to throw the Acorn, and a common way to counter the Acorn is to put an Aura next to it, or a Swarm, because it'll damage the Hive, which has 25 health. It'll go down to 10, and then the following turn it'll die. Also, you notice that that Swarm had 31 health. It's because part of the Wild's familiar. Part of the Wild's familiar increases the health of your minions. We'll just look at it real quick. So each level provides 15% base minion summon range, which means that the circle that you can summon minions is much wider. You can summon them further from yourself. And then you can also cast Spirit Link, which is the owl's ability to transport minions further away, and also the Mushroom, which is a heal. And then also, like I said, the +2 minion health increase. And there's also a spell called Ritual, which we can go over when Seer uses it later. If you use Familiar, it increases the maximum active rituals that you can have. And then at level 5, you can use Ritual and it won't end your turn. Ritual, in essence, is just like a power-up to certain spells in the Full Wilds book, but we'll go over that a bit more later. So, DX decides to Thorn Ball. The Swarm damages himself, but probably worth it, because he doesn't have much else to do 31 damage. Seer did Full Familiar, or not Full Familiar, he did level 3, because he knows that he'll get +6 on the Swarm, and a Drain can't kill it. So, kind of a cheeky, sneaky idea there. He familiars 3 times, and then the Swarm has 31, and so you can't just kill it with a Drain. Cool strategy. They tower next to each other. Seer brings out this snare here, which does 25 damage, and then it just keeps spawning those little green plants there. Before it's powered up, it just does 25 damage a turn. He summons a wolf. DX reveals Whisper Bomb and pretty expertly tosses that to kill the wolf. It's kind of interesting here, pretty important to track tower damage. I believe DX has like 10 health or so left on his tower, because they were just chilling in towers for several turns. But if you can have the opportunity to like Blast from the Past and, you know, flash someone off, then it is important to count tower damage. Not too intuitive though, it's not something that a lot of people do. Also probably not so important in this instance, because Seer doesn't have Blast from the Past. He has Drain, Gate, Tower, and Swarm. Clock Tower and Swarm. So he does that strategy to kill the Acorn again, put the Swarm next to it. DX is detowered from the snare, and then Seer full familiars, and he's at 110, and he empowers the Spirit Owl, which, what that does is, so Ritual bonus can summon your wolf, bear, and owl minions if they are in your spellbook. So an owl actually becomes a minion that can summon other minions, which is quite awesome. He full familiars again because if he rituals it doesn't end his turn. And at this point when I was spectating I was a little bit worried for Seer because I'm like, well, he's at 110 health, that's so low. But you'll find out later kind of what he's able to do to heal up. So they're kind of chilling again on opposite sides of the map, getting their towers out. Seer's Swarm is on cooldown, so maybe he wants to get a wolf out. Maybe he can get a bear out. He's got full familiar, so I'm not kidding, the summon range for that is like a huge circle. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it is massive. Like, I wish I could show it easily on the replay, but it'll give me just like free to play spells. But you'll see like how far he's able to summon minions. It's ridiculous. So he decides to swarm him. It kind of counteracts the snow that's fallen on DX's tower. And yeah, see how far he can summon that? It's crazy. Keep an eye on the seasons here. He decided not to use the leaves. It's not really that important this turn. Maybe he could have done it on the side, try to trap the swarm on the left, trigger 4 seasons, use the autumn leaves, and then get them to kind of sit on this side here. It might not work, but it might. Who knows? So he's again taking him with the swarm. He decides to bring out the bear. It has 110 HP because again, +2 for each familiar level, and he's level 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Yay! So DX brings out the Dryad, and he does use the snow on the swarm. He's gonna just again take his tower, which doesn't really do too much, but slowly eats away at his tower there. He decides to clear the area, which is I think fine because the Dryad can't get anywhere. DX tries to kill the swarm with the storm, doesn't quite get it, and he throws the acorn far just to force Seer to have to move to go over and kill it. So not a bad play. He could use it on the swarm again, but it wouldn't kill, so it's not really worth it. And there's the kind of trump card of Full Wilds, how he's able to kind of just heal back up. I was gonna call it a comeback, you know, but he's not really that behind. They're pretty even. But yeah, that's one way that he's able to kind of equalize, is get that 100 extra health from the werewolf. Werewolves have a little like blast from the past move called Swipe. It does 15 damage. It doesn't end the turn. That's what he just used there. And then they have like a Dark Knight type charge, which is Rampage. It's not nearly as strong as Dark Knight charge, but it's kind of just like a, you know, charge that the werewolf does. It does like 75-ish damage. So he empowers mushrooms. Excuse me. He empowers mushrooms, and that just does +10 healing. So I believe he goes from, what was it, 215 to 245? And he's able to summon that extra wolf because the wolf can use pack mentality after turn 5, and that just summons another wolf. He meant to go over and bite the hive, but he just ran out of time. So unfortunate, but again, not the end of the world. He will have to kill that hive at some point. So because he didn't kill the hive, DX is able to get a bee out there. He puts the bee there because he wants to discourage Seer from going over to kill the beehive. Maybe he might still be able to do it if he jumps right with the wolf, but now he gets the swipe off and actually detowers. Again, another reason why you should count your tower damage. And he knocks him with the bite, which has pretty nice knockback actually. So DX teleports to the side, and I don't know, another option I was thinking of is like, do you really need to knock DX in this situation? Because Seer knows that he doesn't have flight or anything. It's like really difficult for him to go to the side. So he could have probably just rampaged him. Just get on his head and rampage downward. Get some damage off. I don't know, or maybe summon a minion and trap him. But then he might get out in that case anyway. But I'm not sure, maybe he has a couple other options that don't necessarily encourage DX to teleport to the side. Because now DX is kind of okay here. Because what can Seer do? There's not much. He does have the owl, which has a huge range, and that can transport him down to the side, but it doesn't look like the range is big enough to do that. So he does clear that space with hitting the border on the top, and then kill the hive, which he failed to do a couple turns ago, but no big deal really. Now he's on spring, so he just casted the water, probably on Seer here. And yeah, you can see he's at 315, so he healed 100 from the werewolf, and then each turn he's using his mushrooms, which are plus 10, which are an additional 10, I should say. So mushrooms are originally 15, but then they're 25 after they're ritualed. Yeah, ritual bonus 25 heal. So, and he can use, I think, 4 of them, so he can heal 25 each turn after healing 100, and he's way high. When he does turn back into a werewolf, he goes back down to 250. But if he's below 250, he keeps the 100 health, as far as I know. Could be wrong on that, but I think that's how it works. He does mushroom here. I'm wondering, is it worth it to mushroom above 250 in this case? Because he's going to go back down to 250 when he transforms back into a human anyway. So, and DX can't really get to him and do 350 damage, so it might not be worth it. You might want to save your mushroom. He summons another owl. Just trying to find a way to get to him. Wants to use the owl to probably transport himself into that land, get close to DX. And DX here, I'm not 100% sure what his plan is yet. He did reveal Thornball, so he might actually have Thorn Bomb here, and you'll see kind of a cool mechanic that he's able to do that his book is actually built around. So he uses Thorn Bomb, and notice the season is summer. Summer is the rain, and so in one turn he actually gets the Thorn Bomb off, and then because the weather doesn't end your turn, you can actually detonate the thorns, and that can one-hit someone. You know, DX just didn't quite have, or not, it wasn't probably DX's fault. Seer was just positioned pretty well, and so the thorns didn't kill him. But if Seer was a little bit over to the left, that would have legitimately just killed him, like all 350 health, because that's 6 or 7 thorns there. So he's able to cast the weather. You have to have the right season, like leaves wouldn't work. But if you're on summer, or the spring, which is the storm, I believe, you can cast that after you summon a Thorn Bomb. Not after necessarily, you can just, there's a little button on your spellbook at the end at like the far right, that just has the season summer, and you just cast it, and then it puts that cloud over and summons the rain. So you hit that, and then you throw your Thorn Bomb. The Thorn Bomb detonates, and then as you saw, the rain comes down, and it does a lot of damage, 75 damage. and he loses his werewolf form. So now you kind of see that's one of DX's main win cons, is to do the Thorn Bomb Seasons combo. But again, it's a little tricky because you can't really do it with snow or the leaves. You have to wait for summer and spring. So it's a little bit difficult to execute, just like on demand. You have to wait, you have to be patient to wait for the seasons. Seer decides to drain here. Still at some point I think he does want to transport his owl down there to just get close to DX. Maybe drop a snare on him. DX does 4 seasons here. It may not look like a good move, but it's pretty powerful to have an aerial every turn for 4 turns, even if it's kind of weak. So he just gets that cycle started, because once you cast 4 seasons, you can now use the aerial of each season: autumn, summer, spring, and winter. Not in that particular order, but you can use one of the 4 seasons aerials every single turn, and then when you're out of those, you just cast it again. This is one instance where it shows the range of the summon circle, just ridiculous. You'd have to play this book yourself to kind of see how crazy it is, but he's actually able to get the swarm way up there, which is pretty awesome. DX gets that Whisper Bomb off. He actually has Whisper Arrow too. He's probably saving that for like a kill. He doesn't want to reveal it. Now, why does he have Whisper Bomb and Whisper Arrow? Probably just to kill swarms early game, and also just kind of catch the opponent off guard. If they try to trap and they're lethal, they have like 60 health or something, and he can get a Whisper Arrow on them. So here Seer empowers the Devil's Snare. What that does is it makes it so that every snare does 25, instead of the snares together just doing 25 a turn. So initially we'll spread each turn, but all controlled snares share the same damage source. That means that even if you have 6 snares, they'll do 25 damage. But with the ritual bonus, if you have 6 snares, that would do 150 damage. 25 per snare, which is just disgusting. So he empowers the snare, and DX has to move, because in a few turns he's going to be detowered, and then there's going to be 4 or 5 snares, and it's going to one-hit KO. He moves the swarm down there because he knows he doesn't have drain at this point. Or maybe he doesn't know, but he anticipates. He makes an educated guess that he doesn't have drain because he hasn't seen it yet. Actually, scratch that, because even if he did have drain, the swarm has 35 health. So he just puts the swarm there just to tick the tower and save time moving it in future turns. And if he wanted to kill the swarm, he would just have to Whisper Bomb himself, which would detower him. So Seer empowers the snare there. He's still got that owl if he wants more mobility. And DX has to gate, right, because the snare is going to do a lot of damage. And yeah, if you haven't noticed yet, it doesn't damage the player that casts it, so that's an important detail too. So Seer brings the swarm up, and at this point I was kind of wondering, couldn't he bring the owl here, transport himself back up top, and have some top control? But then I remembered, oh yeah, he ritualed the owl, so it can actually summon a minion, and I thought that was a great play to do that. I might have tried to trap him a little bit better, like summon it on his head, which I know the owl can do because it has a wide summon circle because of the familiar effect, but he chooses not to, because then DX has to find a way to get out of the trap somehow. He can't just tower in that case. He has to get out from under the bear. But Seer chooses this strategy. And again, I'm thinking, maybe he could owl himself out of that hole and I don't know, try to fight for top control back again. But it's a bit scary because he has to account for the Thorn Bomb weather combo. You know, if he's just sitting out there in the open, DX can just cast his summer or spring season. If the rotation matches up, toss a Thorn Bomb and kill him in one turn. So DX tries to Vine Whip that bear, but it's actually heavy, so a Vine Whip wouldn't work. A Flash doesn't work either, so it's kind of like Dark Knight. So Seer gets a little bit of a break there, and unfortunately he gets pixeled, and the pixel just drops him into that hole. Kind of unfortunate. Again, doesn't lose him the game or anything. In fact, he's able to get it up in the same turn. Okay, maybe not in the same turn, but next turn I think he does get it up. He doesn't really have anything to do, so he elects to just drain, and DX gets another Acorn out. I forget where he threw that, but it's somewhere. And now Seer just wants to get elevator that bear back up. I think, does he get it all the way over? Back over to his tower? He might be able to here. Yeah. Oh no, he wants to go for the Dryad, he wants to kill it. So he decides to use the Owl for that. Not a bad play. The Dryad can get down there, but he can't really close any ground on Seer because of the snares, and Chomp won't reach. That melee attack by the Dryad won't reach. So Seer's safe for now. He again does have another Owl up, but Full Wilds doesn't really have a reliable D tower, so that's kind of the main issue for Seer here. If he could detower him, he's got the bear that he can trap him with. Oh yeah, he does hit the Acorn over here, so Seer just goes and puts the Swarm in the way. So Seer's best shot is probably to just get the Swarms out and then also spam the bite attack with the bear. Cool ability with the bear, which I think I've mentioned before, is the lower the health is, the more damage it does. It's a passive ability. Which, is that even in the description? Has the spells Bite Leap and the passive Provoke, allowing it to deal extra damage for every 2 missing health it has. So, yeah, there you have it. DX is just kind of chilling, just trying to gain minions, minion advantage. And this is the part that's a little bit difficult. This is the difficult part about 60G, is it's like, okay, we're in the middle game now. By the way, he empowered the bear, which gives it 35 health and better jump. So, yeah, this is a difficult point of 60G where it's like, we're in the middle game, how am I going to win? Like, what's the win con? Both sides have a bunch of minions, but don't seem to be in a position to be aggressive. So what are we supposed to do? Again, I mentioned earlier that Seer's win con is probably bear, just spamming the bite to detower and trap because the bear is heavy. So that's going to be a great option for him. And you'll see if he decides to do that. I think he wants to kill the Hive just to, again, deal with DX's minions first. Prioritize that over the damage, which is typically a good approach in 60 Grassy. You don't want to let your opponent get a bunch of minions out. So he does kill the Hive. The Dryad is free, but you don't necessarily want to go down there and chomp Seer, because, I don't know, he's still towered, it doesn't do that much. And then, you know, Seer can probably spear. He could empower his spear and kill the Dryad. Actually, I think he's empowered 3 things already, the little icons. Oh, 4 things. I thought you could limit it to 3, but the familiar increases, yeah, how many, increases the maximum active rituals you can have. So, he can probably ritual a lot of things. I don't know what that exact number is, but it might be 4 or 5. An empowered spear does 90, so if the Dryad comes down, he empowers a spear and hits him with it, that would just kill the Dryad. So probably not a good play to do, so DX doesn't do it. He's again spamming the hives, just forcing Seer to respond to them. And DX knows that the win con for Seer is to chip away at the bear. Or the win con for Seer is to kill DX with the bear, and so DX is going to chip away at the bear and trap him, keep it under wraps, so to speak. Don't want to just let the bear roam free to jump around and kill minions and damage DX. So he has another opportunity here to maybe use Owl to get up here and, you know, maybe go over and kill the hive himself. Chooses not to, though. And elects to just summon another swarm. The swarm doesn't die, kind of unfortunate. 4 Seasons is a bit hit or miss for damage, but it's not really used for damage in most cases. It can do like 70 on a player. Flying minions, not so much. But it could also do like 10 to a player. It kind of just depends on how wide open the terrain is. Okay, he does empower the spear, and it looks like he's actually able to empower all 5. I can pause, and maybe, let's see. I'll wait until he... Yeah, okay, so the owl, the mushrooms, the snare, the bear, and the spear are all empowered. So it looks like he can empower 5, or maybe more even, with the familiar. And that just, again, does 90 damage instead of 75, which is huge. Like Wilds with all these minions, you'd think it was like a control book, until someone empowers a spear and does 90 damage to you, and you're like, Jesus. So, pretty overpowered. Here of all time, Seer elects to be aggressive. But honestly, I think that a better option might have been to just trap him with the bear and just spam the bite. So unfortunately for DX, the Thorn Bomb, the storm doesn't trigger the thorns, so Seer's able to survive. But it's here, I think, where, you know, Seer decides to go toward DX, but DX is towered and he's got a Dryad. So I don't know if this is the best option. I would rather just jump the bear on top of him, go over to a corner here, you know, and hide. And then just, you know, attack him. Try to get him detowered before you try to go and do any damage. Because if he's detowered, you can do 90 damage to him with the Ritualed Spear. Decides to kill the Dryad, which is a fine play. But unfortunately, DX is actually on Summer Season, and he's able to blast from the past him in a position where he can do the Thorn Bomb trick, cast the weather, and then throw the Thorn Bomb and kill him with the raindrops. Pretty crazy. Seer was kind of funny at the end of this. He's like, yeah, I just gave up. I'm sure he knew that he could throw the thorns, but he was just saying, oh yeah, I'm so bored. So it is what it is. Take that for take that with a grain of salt, or however you want to take it. But yeah, pretty interesting game. Featuring 2 new spellbooks, full wilds, and then a seasons mix with the Thorn Bomb. I will post the books at the beginning so you guys know exactly what they were running, and maybe you guys can try them out by yourself in your own games. So yeah, really interesting game. Really kind of teaches some of the crucial middle game aspects of 60 Grassy where it's kind of just like, oh, what the heck do I do? How do I gain an advantage? And more often than not, the answer is just summon a minion, you know? And then that forces your opponent to respond to kill the minion or either trap it or deal with it in some other way. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.